Good morning. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the virtual village hall. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm Rachel from I Printed That, and I'm going to be carrying on the vintage tea celebrations, showing you how to make monogrammed napkin ring holders. It's potato printing, but with a difference. Rather than carving the potato and inking it up and then printing with it, we're going to be carving the potato and using a debossing technique into clay to make your napkin ring holders. So I'm going to start just by going through all the materials and equipment that you're going to need. So let's start with our potato. Just a nice clean potato, small to medium size will do. You'll also need a knife and a chopping board. Then also for the potato, you will be needing a book, maybe with typography in it, or you can also print off something from Word from your computer, or you can even use text from magazines. It just gives you a really nice basis to start from. You'll need a tracing paper and a pencil, and then lastly to carve you'll need a craft knife. So that's the potato bit. Then the printing bit, you will need some air dry clay. I've got some terracotta colour here, but it also comes in white, in black. So that's my air dry clay. Lots of different makes of these as well, all work really well. You'll also need a rolling pin to roll out the clay. And then finally, if you want to add something a little bit special, then maybe something to make some other imprints in the clay. So you could use hessian, you could use lace, and I've also got some leaves and some flowers here as well to add a little bit something a little bit more special too. So let's start. I'm going to pop you down so you can see exactly what I'm going to do, and let's make some napkin ring holders. So let's start with our potato. So your medium-sized potato, chopping board and a nice sharp knife, and I just want to slice the potato into a ring of probably about sort of 5 millimeters, so half a centimetre or 1/4 of an inch. Try and get it as straight as you can. There we go. So that's our potato. I'm then just going to dry it to get rid of some of the excess moisture. So I'm just using one of my art tea towels, but you could use some kitchen paper just to dry it. Then you need to choose your lettering. So this is my absolute favourite typography book. I've no idea what any of the text says because it's all in German, but the typography is outstanding. So what you're looking for is something that's quite bold. You could take it from a magazine, you could print it off from your computer. So I would avoid really fiddly things like this, and maybe like this. But the one that I'm going to choose today is here. So we've got some really good bold shapes. There are a few fiddly bits, but we can certainly work with those. So this can still be dainty, doesn't have to be too bold, but just make sure that the basis of your letter is nice and bold. So let's start with this one. I'm going to turn it round so I can see it properly. And then we just need to trace. So let's take a normal HB pencil. And let's print the T. So you can use tracing paper or greaseproof paper, that works just as well. Make sure you've got a nice solid line, good thick line from your pencil, because we want to transfer this onto the potato. So that's the T printed, just traced. So take the potato, make sure you've dried the top. Just dab it again. And then flip the tracing paper over. And again, using the pencil, just go over the back and transfer the pencil mark to the potato. There, and that should come out quite clearly. So now we need to cut the potato. So cut this letter out. I just want to say at this point, the T is the same in reverse as it is the right way round. But if you are doing, because you're doing lettering, the image that needs to be on the potato is the reverse. So that's why we did the flip. And then use the knife to then cut the potato out. Oh, let's start again. So go back to my book. And let's actually show you with a letter that can be two ways round. So let's go with an A. We can edit that bit out. Oh, live, you say? Oh, okay. So let's just chop potato again. Give it a dab. Flip the paper over. Over the back and transfer the pencil marks. I obviously wanted to make sure that I really explained this bit. So there's our A. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more gentle this time. And those narrow bits at the end, I'm going to cut them fairly thick. I can always take away, but just remember you can't add back in. So let's make those fairly thick. Now you might be thinking, well, I could actually just transfer or draw onto the potato the letter the right way round and then just flip it over at the end. But it's quite difficult to cut very, very straight. You know, at least you know if you're doing it this way round, then you'll cut, then exactly what you see here is exactly what's going to get printed. If it's here, so for example, some of this has gone a little bit astray, so that's why it's always best to cut it the right way round. And then we just need to take the middle part out. It's a little bit fiddly. And then that's my potato printed. That's my potato cut. So I'm just going to put that to one side while I roll out the clay. So I need to take just a small amount of clay. As I said, this is air dry clay. Lots of different makes you can get. It normally takes about 24 hours to dry. You can get it in white, in black. You can paint them. So you can really make it special to the person who you're inviting to your afternoon tea. And I'm just using my rolling pin to roll it out to about, again, same as the potato ring, about 1/2 centimetre, so 5 millimetres or 1/4 of an inch. If you're going to be adding decoration like leaves, I would do that now before you put your letter on. So I've got some lavender here. This is just before it's come into bud. So I'm just pressing it in with my fingers, enough to make an imprint. And then I can print my letter. So the top bit, you need to flip it over and then press into the clay, making sure that all the bits, all that surface area goes in. So I wonder if you can help me out here. I've been absolutely racking my brains. If you wanted to make something a little bit more substantial, so something that's going to last longer than a potato, I wonder if you might have any ideas of what I could use. So something that's quite firm yet easy to cut. So I know lino would possibly work, but I was just thinking something that's maybe a little more available. So if you've got any ideas, just pop it in the comments, because I'd love to have a go at making some of these, but making them a bit more permanent than a potato. So there is our debossed potato print done. So if I want to, I can make this now into any shape. I can make it square. And I quite like the sort of the rustic charm. The edges aren't actually at right angles. And then I need to make a hole, so I'm just going to use my pencil, make sure it goes right the way through, just making that hole so I've got something to put some ribbon through or some string to tie that to the napkin. So that's your napkin ring holder done. So that needs to be left to dry. The instructions on the back of the packet of your clay will tell you how long you need to keep it to dry. Normally it's about 24 to 48 hours. And then if you want to, you can add a little bit more decoration. So I've got one here, and there's a couple that I did earlier. So I'm going to use some white gouache paint just to add a little bit more interest. So this is the paint, just really any water-based paint. Acrylic will do. Probably not watercolours, something a bit thicker. There we go, you only need a little bit. And then just water that down. And paint over those impressions that you made. So that one's really going to highlight the J. There we go, but you've still got some of the impressions here from the hessian. Or you could highlight just the letter itself. And any bits that end up around the side, just add them. And then when they're dry, just tie either a piece of ribbon or string or whatever matches your tableware to complement it, and then tie your napkin ring holder to the napkin of one of your friends. And I just think it's a really nice thing that they know exactly where they're sitting, and also they can then take this away and use it. It's just a nice little souvenir from the vintage tea party that you put on for them. So that's how to make monogrammed napkin ring holders. Thank you ever so much for watching today. It's been a real pleasure. We always love to see your pictures, your photos of all your makes, and also of the vintage tea parties that you're holding this month for RVS. So please do take photos and post them into the comments. And if you tag me as well, at I printed that, I'll be able to see them too. If you've got any questions from today's session, then please just put them in the comments and I will go through and I will answer them afterwards. But thanks so much for watching, and enjoy your afternoon teas, your vintage celebratory teas, and I will see you again very soon. See you later. Bye.